So perhaps just to get the ball rolling, if I may ask to our esteemed panel as they get themselves sorted and installed on the podium here. A lot of you have done some cluster analysis of sorts in your research, but what we're seeing is people are not looking for information via their preferred trusted sources. We've got increased indifference, if you like. So what should risk communicators be doing, and who should they really be focusing their attention on? So if I allow perhaps the esteemed panel, George, if you perhaps like to kick that one off, and you can all get back to us on that. And in the meantime, anyone who's got any questions, please just start thinking, put up your hand, and we'll take those on a one-by-one basis.
Well, I think that's the so-called $64,000 question. What should they be focusing on? We've heard that we should be focusing more on benefits. The scientific evidence in relation to the benefits, as we saw from the IRIS study, a lot of people are a bit confused about the benefits because the science tends to change. I remember doing a focus group and some women were talking about liver, I think it was. And there was an old woman who had been through six different interpretations of the role of liver in supporting pregnant women. The best advice is have a balanced diet, I'm sure, but that doesn't come across terribly well. But surely the issue here is on the one hand, there's the promoting healthy diets, but equally, and my experience in EFSA on the RISC panel is that it's the crises that crop up that are problematic, and whether it's the bean sprouts, whether it's dioxin and so forth. So one can concentrate on the benefits, but there are times of crisis when I don't think it would have been very persuasive in Germany to say bean sprouts are jolly good for you most of the time.
Thank you, George. Margaux, would you like to perhaps add something?
The question on how to... some people are more interested in information and are seeking more information than other people. And the high information seekers, those are the people that we can reach. And we can just think about which channel we can best use to reach them. What's interesting from my point of view is that we should also try to find a way to reach people, consumers, who would not be likely to read the newspapers, who are not likely to seek on the internet, who may be not likely to use social media, and still convey certain messages, for instance, on how to prepare your food in a safe manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else to add? Sure.
And just one thought as a point of clarification. When I mentioned the benefits, one of the slides I didn't show in my presentation were what were the key motivators for mothers in purchasing certain foods, and that included convenience, taste, and price. So when you look at those three things in terms of what drives a mother to purchase a food product, she's driven by convenience, taste, and price. And I think in the absence of a crisis, it's our duty to be proactive in promoting the healthful benefits of a balanced diet. And I think that, in essence, really helps to minimize the long-term negative public perceptions that may exist once a crisis actually exists. One case example, I won't be before you long, is the whole issue behind seafood and health. Seafood. In the U.S., there are 4 species of seafood that are deemed, quote-unquote, dangerous because of the mercury levels. However, we've done a poor job about communicating the benefits of seafood in the diet. So much so that fish consumption is very low, and it's even very low for men, which we aren't the target audience. So again, to the point, in the absence of crisis, I think we have a tremendous opportunity to reach consumers across the board, male, female, mothers, and fathers, to really help be proactive about promoting the benefits of the diet.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Can I take, there's a question over here, please. So we'll go 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. My name is Bernd Gruner, and I work for the European Poultry Egg and Game Association, which are mostly traders with poultry meat and eggs. My question would be rather, it's clear that we address the normal society, in brackets, there's nothing normal. But you have the people who doubt in science, who don't believe that science has the right premises to judge what happens on the world. And for me, clearly this group has also to be addressed, and especially the youth has to be addressed. And you have to build confidence in scientific models and how science assesses the world, how we go forward. Okay, perhaps most pupils are learning it, but you have the people outside of schools and outside of these privileged living where we are in. So how you address these people, and how we are mothers, we are scientists, we are medias, you have to address them also, because they are our future.
Thank you very much. Kate, if you'd like to ask your question as well, thanks.
Hello, I'm Kate Trollope, editor of EU Food Policy. Focusing on the results of FoodRisC, it seemed to me that everyone should be trying to get on TV and national newspapers, and that, social media and Twitter is very, very, small. Is that an oversimplification? Because a lot of agencies, food agencies, are wondering about using Twitter and other social media, but it's incredibly time-consuming. Should they really just be focusing on the big, TV interviews? And then you also, Margaux, in your presentation, you seem to deal with all these channels as though they're completely separate. But what about, say, BBC, biggest media organisation like that, where you've got the TV, you've got the website, you've got the journalist blogs, you've got the Twitter, you've got all the programmes with, email us, put us on Twitter. What about the integrated approach? And did anything come out from that from FoodRisC?
Thanks, Kate. Perhaps, Kate, if you could just pass the microphone back to the gentleman, and we'll take this. Thank you very much.
Aine de Vries, Maastricht University. We are conducting quite a lot of studies on framing as well, and also on tailored communication. And what we found, for instance, is that the effects of framing sometimes very much depend on whether you're trying to assess cognitions or trust, but also behavior. So I was wondering, Aine, whether you also found these kind of things, and whether you found what your recommendations would be. On the other hand, we also find that tailoring information actually is much more effective than just broad messages. We've been doing a lot of studies on tailoring, trying to provide tailored information. And what I still see when I read in this area, the publications, is that it's mostly very broad messages still. And actually we've been showing that these broad messages can be very ineffective, but tailored, much more personalized messages can be much more effective. So I would like to hear your ideas about the future for this audience to use tailored information.
We're just going to start with this round of questions, Bernd. I hope you don't mind too much, because you had a very philosophical, bigger question, and there's actually a dedicated session this afternoon, the closing session. So we'll move that and make sure we come back to your point. And as those two, the second and third questions, were actually more directed to the actual results of the project. So perhaps with regards to coming back to Kate's point and the role of social media, I know the next session is dedicated to that, but perhaps Anya, maybe if you'd like to come back to that would be great.
So the question on framing, I totally agree. There are lots of studies out there where very subtle effects of how you frame a message can impact people's responses to that message, and we certainly have carried out, I guess my study, the work that I present there, doesn't fit quite so nicely into that framing literature, but we have carried out research within the wider FoodRisC project that has looked at the impact on framing, and especially on how it can lead to risk associations, so associations that we've seen within the E. coli contamination outbreak in Germany, started in Germany. So how the risk associated with wrongly, I suppose, attributed to the cucumbers, how that led to risk associations to wider salad groups and fresh vegetables and things like that. So our team done a bit of work on how framing of the message could actually impact associations between risk categories. So you might be interested in hearing a little bit more about that during the break time. We can certainly talk to you about that, absolutely.
Thanks very much indeed. Margaux, perhaps just to go back to Kate's question with regards to the role of social media and also social media in the broader communications mix.
That's a tough one, especially with respect to the focus that has been put on social media as a development. And, well, it came up during the project, and there were lots of developments. I think you have to bear in mind that the research that we have done was done in 9 different countries, and we did it as a sample of the general population. And that means younger people, older people, people who have access to the internet, and in some Western European countries, that's really a large group, but other European countries, they don't have internet in that amount. So I think the research says overall that people are not using social media as much, though you might wonder whether what we call social media is the same as what people call social media. So a lot of people think about social media in terms of networking, and well, there are a lot of other social media sites like a Wikipedia that people maybe not even realize that they're using. So.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, I just saw that George was wanting to just quickly.
Well, I'd just like to ask, how many people in the audience expect to send a Twitter feed out today? So about 10 people. Now, if I asked that question to one of my lectures at the LSE, there'd be 10 people who weren't going to do it. Social media, it bifurcates most societies. Anyone under 30, anyone under 25 is just, social media is the media. They'll watch less television, they don't read the newspapers, or if they do, they read them online. But antediluvians like me, you know, I still have to get my daughters to come home and sort out my computing. I mean, Facebook and this sort of thing, it's another universe. So the problem with national surveys is, of course, if you take the average is not terribly informative. And I think we just see an enormous split in society now, with younger people doing things which the older generation just don't understand, don't follow, and can't quite see the point of in the first place.
But I'm sure we'll be coming back to that more in this sort of dedicated social media session later on today. Aine, there was one point you wanted to quickly make.
I just wanted to quickly, I suppose, raise the idea that, you know, and we talked about this before, but that, you know, Margot's work, I suppose, asked people, do they actively go and search for information on social media? I mean, do people go and actively search for information on social media? It's hard to know, you know, it's there. The way you set up your network, it's there and it's coming into you. So it's really the importance of having your information there, because it's kind of a continual network of exposure as well, because we make this distinction between active information seeking and passively receiving information as well. So there's still definitely a role, I suppose, for social media, but it's very interesting, the perception work that we find from this year, that, you know, how people react to this idea of, do I actively go and search for information on social media about food risks and benefits?
Thank you very much indeed. I'd like to thank you all for your questions, and with that, it is now coffee time. Thank you very much.